Julian, where do you think this perception of being a man has come down from?
If you're a kid and you're told you shouldn't show emotion, the only emotion you can show is rage, then what happens is when you have any issue with someone, that's the only way you would show it.
Yeah.
And also, if you think about being black and just being specifically in the West, the view of what a black man should be is very narrow.
From where?
So coming from Sierra Leone,
Yes.
I didn't know about these conversations, right? I wasn't even a black man in Sierra Leone. I was just a man, you know?
Wow.
And then coming to England, you're like, okay, cool, there are stereotypes that you have to challenge and move against. So when you're speaking to someone and you're not, stern, you're not looking at them in their eye, you're not talking back at them, you're seen as weak, right? And even culturally, back home, you don't look at your elders in the eye, you look down. And you come to England, you're asked to look at them in the eye. So those conversations, it's almost like a change of culture. But for me, I think this is really close to my heart because I've got friends that in this space that don't know how to deal with their rage. So you grow up with this mentality of you can't show no emotion, and now you're a big man. You have to show this emotion because you have a child, or you have dependents, or you've got a wife, or you've got someone that's like beside you that needs you to show that emotion, and you can't show it.
It's good to have Ben on the panel here. Thank you for that. Bimpe, talk to me, because let's be honest, and we have to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's not just Nigerian boys, and please don't be offended, guys, but a lot of these boys that are being stabbed and attacked are the Olas, the Ades, the Femis. We hear their names constantly. Some of us even know somebody who knows someone that went to a funeral. But in your scene, the Afrobeat scene, it's not really like that. It's very fun, it's very fresh. It's not like that kind of drill where it's like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's lively. Have you been seeing it coming into the Afrobeats community, this aggressiveness, this toxic masculinity?
I think there are two ways to address that question rightly. I think the reason why Afrobeats is always fun is because, I don't know if it's a Nigerian thing, we have the tradition of suffering and smiling.
I'm a professional sufferer and smiler.
Even if the economy is bad and stuff, people party. And that's the kind of culture that Afrobeats really, thrive on. But in terms of the actual topic, I think it's cultural as well. And I'll give you this example. It's not an example because it actually happened. I think I was about 5 or 6 when my grandfather passed away, and I went to the burial ceremony with my dad, and I was just standing by my dad, and he didn't cry. He was really, really close to his dad, and he didn't cry at all. And I wanted to start crying, and then he gave me a nudge and like, don't cry.
Wow.
And then the tears just went. I didn't see it as wrong. I probably still don't see it as wrong, but I think that's the culture. Men carry on the weight of everybody else. But
I would say women do. I would disagree with you on that.
Okay, let me correct my men are expected to carry the weight of everybody else, including your own family, extended family, friends, and all that. But now that I'm a bit older, you find I've heard about men facing depression. Even thinking about my own personal experience as well. About a month ago, I was thinking about it that every single time I'm being brought up to help others, motivate others, but I've never actually thought about it that why can't I find someone who's going to motivate me as well? Because
I'm sure there's many women out there that would do it.
Yeah, because I'm also going through same issues probably, but I won't notice until I break down.
Do you know, it's such a good point, and that happened when you were 5, and you can. I'm sure you can still remember it like it was yesterday. So, Grev, why did you become? A volunteer? Or I'm presuming it's because of what happened with your dad, but what made you say, actually, I want to take out my time to come on shows like Nonny and to speak in other places to raise awareness for a cause that is predominantly linked to black men?
The thing is, nothing happens unless you make it happen. I'm a real firm believer in that. And I just feel that because I'm associated with the disease, I'm at greater risk. Fortunately, I've not been diagnosed, But I go through the tests, I go through the things that people are very, very nervous about doing. So I can speak with some authority.
Yes.
You do not want to see someone you care about die, trust me. And I know this program is designed fundamentally for African women, and the message that I would send out to any of those is every wife nag your husband, every daughter nag your father.
Including me. I'll
Absolutely.
be doing it tonight.
And every mother nag your son, because you would not want to be standing by their graveside wishing that you had. And if you get it detected early,
it can be treated
very well
successfully. Yes, that's fine.
And that's the thing. So to me, why stand back? Why let somebody else do it? So my view is no, I thought volunteer my time.
Maybe we have been conditioned,
Yeah.
a certain age group, to think that wig is the only acceptable
So
option.
it's your perception then? So is it your perception?
Maybe, tell us, Derek.
My cousin who works for corporate England, HR, for months, for years, she says, I can't go to work with this. I don't think my boss would love it. I don't think. I think it's the sisters who are perpetuating this foolish trauma on themselves.
Really?
However, so she got rid of the relaxer a couple of months ago. Her boss says, oh my God, your hair looks so fantastic.
Exactly.
Whereas so she kept telling herself that it doesn't look right for the workplace. So is it the women who are saying it doesn't look right for the workplace, or is it the workplace themselves?
But I think it's both. But then, of course, it must be the workplace if Lupita Nyong'o's afro was chopped off. It was only a tiny little bit behind her that showed the afro.
my problem with
but
this
there was
is-
something about it that they said doesn't mean anything.
So I think with the supermodels, actors, actresses, they need to get black hairdressers to do their hair, not people who can't do their hair. That's the problem.
Do you think that could be a...
In many cases, it's who's attributed to the stylist, or sorry, to the star. I don't think enough black hairdressers get a chance to do some black celebrities.
Do you know, I think we need an appointment at Derek's salon. Nana, again, when we were speaking off camera, you spoke about the kind of tumultuous relationship you've had with your father and how difficult it was for him to accept your condition.
Yeah. When it came to my dad, it was the pure education, understanding that, yes,
You're still human.
I'm still human. Yes, I have a tracheostomy, or I look different from what he envisioned, but I've got a brain. I can walk, I can talk to a degree.
You can talk, or we can't shut you up.
I can talk to a degree, so I think, as Hannah will agree with me, in African culture, it's more of you need to be perfect. You having a disability, you're not going to amount to much. Your disability is what they see first. Who are you going to be? You're a sickler, as Africans say. For a long time, I built a lot of resentment for people within my own culture.
Really?
And it stemmed from the home. It stemmed from how my father saw me. But God is so good. I had my mum who was like, no.
Yes.
You're not disabled.
Yeah, my son.
What your peers can do, you can do it. Even when we go back into time, my education, the local authority at the time wanted to put me in a special educational needs school. And my mum was like, why? What for? There's nothing wrong with his brain.
Yeah.
He just has a breathing condition.
It's true.
The same story is repeated with others serving in the First World War and in the Second World War. And as soon as the conflicts come towards an end, there are almost immediate efforts to erase the story of ethnic minorities from the record in a very active way. So memos being sent out saying, we will no longer recruit any black officers in the Air Force as of this date because we don't want black or coloured aircrew in the mess after the war is over. So the films don't mention them, the books don't mention them. So I'm not sure if there's a strategy behind that. But
There
I think
must be.
it's a
Clearly,
cultural-
there's something
But I think
that's-
there's a cultural leaning towards that.
I sort of agree that there has been this sort of expungement of black narratives from British history in general. I was a historian growing up.
Wow.
As a child, history was my best
As well
subject.
as a good actor.
Well, that's a matter of opinion. But yeah, I absolutely. We studied hardly anything about Black history. You know, and,
It was the Arawaks, wasn't it? And slavery.
Yeah, bits and
That was
pieces,
about it,
slavery, but always in the empire context, always in the white British context. But I didn't know there were these narratives. It's later on, and in the household and on my mother's knee, so to speak, when I found out that there have been Black people here for 2,000 years, that there were Black sailors who fought in the Napoleonic Wars, that there were Black airmen and other service personnel in both world wars who gave their lives, including Walter, for a country that wasn't really ready for them, didn't want them to participate. The manual of military law in 1914 stated that Black people were to be discouraged because A, they thought that they'd lead mutinies against their white NCOs, and they didn't want them to bear arms and kill white soldiers, even if they were the enemy.
Gosh, that's just, it's
So-
absolutely, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Before a person becomes a bully, you have to remember that they are lacking something, and it's almost like a triangle. And in one point of that triangle, that kid is probably saying, I haven't got enough pocket money, I haven't got the latest trainers, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. And for that reason, he's taking out his frustration on someone else. So we have to be a bit more sensitive as parents to what children actually need. So our listening skills.
What, new trainers?
New trainers, new trainers. Now, I mean, I'm not saying you have to give them the trainers, but if these children are not getting trainers and for that reason they're hating on another child that has trainers, that's where the problem's starting from. So it's not the fact that the other child is the victim, it's that this child needs to manage his emotions.
Yes.
And as a parent, you have to help them manage their emotions. It's okay not to have the latest trainers. It's okay not to have £20 to take to school every week. That's where we as parents in this triangle have to enter the conversation.
Yeah,
and
we need to be
empower our
having
children.
open discussion and
Yes.
dialogue, right? But Patrice, let me ask you, you know, you spoke about Africa being on the map. We love saying that here. Another big nonny hashtag is Africa's trending. But Patrice, if Africa is trending, do you think there's a fear that we could fall out of trend? So you may not see these kind of plays again soon, or the surge of them?
It's a very interesting question. Because I started in 1987,
Wow.
and we had ragamuffin,
born that year.
we had strong
born that
plays
year.
out then, and the questions you're asking now, we were addressing then.
Wow, okay.
So, and so in order to really fully appreciate what's happening now, we have to understand the what's gone on in the past. And the West, you know, we're not very good at memory. Eurocentricity doesn't value memory. So like your age group, I mean, I'm not putting you down. I look to you guys for what's going on because I don't even own a TV. But I could tell that how many, even you guys, what do you know of what happened in 10 years ago? What do you know of the tracks that were laid down even 20 years ago?
So you're saying
You see what
there's
I'm
a
saying? So
repetition of what's happened in the past?
I
or-
don't want to, I think I want to be positive and I want to be optimistic. I think rather than saying trending, it's like what's going on for sustainability.
Okay.
What are we doing to
Yeah.
sustain the momentum
Yeah.
and to keep it going for generations that are coming through? So someone like you who's writing, how about somebody who's 8 years younger than you who wants to get in? You know, can they go somewhere where there's a accessible archives as to what has happened, what amazing African
Pulling
and
a
Black
ladder down
projections.
for those
yeah,
that are
exactly.
coming
So
up.
you can actually build rather than
Patrice, I've
reinventing
got
the
to
wheel.
ask,
Yeah.
and I will ask you as well, Lola, but you're from Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Does it matter that a lot of the plays we see coming forward are Nigerian? Do you care? I know you describe yourself as a Pan-Africanist. Do you think we have to be careful about centering African stories around Nigeria? Because of course there's more than that.
Of course, usually it's South African plays or Nigerian plays,
Yeah.
right? But I see no reason why the momentum now cannot encourage other writers. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure you know Kenyans, I'm sure you know Zambians, I'm sure we all know more than one, you know, African personality. So let's all encourage each other.
Yeah.
In this industry, especially in the diaspora.
Yes.
So if Nigerians are experiencing a big surge, reach out to a Ugandan,
help
reach
your
out
friend,
to
your neighbour.
Yeah.
Why is it so hostile for young Black boys today, and not just in Britain? You know, they're either dying, you know, fleeing poverty from Africa or the Mediterranean. They're dying at the hands of police officers. Why is it such an issue, Jovan?
I guess that's the narrative that
the world likes to paint a picture. It suits their agenda to say that, you know, the black guy is this type of person. The black man is very powerful, you know, and can do great things. And, you know, it's not got to be. The funny, scary part is that these young men they fit what they're told they are.
Yeah.
So if you're told time and time again,
self-perpetuating
you are the guy
the
in the
narrative.
hoodie, you have a struggle, you have problems, you have anger problems. When you're told that's what you are, you act in line with what you believe you are.
Of course.
Which is again, maybe that's the agenda.
That's what's happening. The boxing world is pretty macho, and now you're a mentor. When you're seeing these young kids in South London, what are they looking up to you for? What do you think they're lacking, and what do they need?
I think that for them to see someone who's from where they're from, go and do things in their life, it does a lot for them. When I went to the Commonwealth Games, they say to me, Javan, you're from here, but I saw you on the television. How's that work? And this is why I started mentoring. I was like, what do you mean, how does it work?
So
Because they
disconnected.
really don't think they can go.
Yeah,
They really don't think they can do it, and that's a problem.
But Walter, can you understand, for people who, you know, are not necessarily familiar with Africa, don't understand why their white counterparts are getting the opportunities that they're not, and they're British based?
Yeah, I can totally get that. But I wouldn't know how to suggest a sort of resolution to it and that kind of stuff. I mean, I can give you some examples. I mean, when I used to be here, or when I was here, how I started, I was a writer. And I wrote a British gangster flick called Get Lucky, which you know, got picked up by Gateway, got released by Universal.
Oh.
And I was in Nigeria at the time when they were shooting.
But it was a British gangster flick.
Yeah, it's British gangster flick, was released in the cinema over here with my Luke Treadaway was in the film. Emily Attack was in the film.
Gosh, we've got royalty here.
Well, but the funny story was, literally I came on set and I was stood at the door and the security guy was looking at me like, you know, stood out, and then I had to call my friend in to come in, and then halfway through it, they just said, oh, by the way, this is the guy that wrote the scripts, and the only reason why any of you are here on this production is because of this. And all of a sudden, everyone just, and it was totally, so.
Wow. So you can laugh about that, but that's quite serious. If you're not secure within yourself, that can affect you.
Yeah. I stood outside the set while, you know, the security guards and everything was, and it was quite weird, but I kind of got it.
Okay.
But, you know, you didn't like it, but you kind of got it, and it wasn't a case of I was gonna make a fuss about it, but, you know, you kind of prepare yourself. You have to build a thick skin about it.
The Temple, the average size of a woman in the UK is 14 to 16. Would you say that the fashion industry is sizist, if there's such a term?
Even the whole notion of what it is that's plus size is a little bit warped, isn't it? Like, what is that concept? Plus size, normal looking woman. Oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, we went way down, you know, far too far away from what it is that the ideal of being skinny as being, you know, the good look. We took it way too far to the size zeros. And I think that it's time that, you know, normal-sized women or, as I said, women across the spectrum in terms of what they look like, not just in terms of size, but also in terms of the skin color, the skin tone, or in terms of, you know, their hair type, all these kinds of things. These are people that we see every day. These are the people that we know, and these are the people that fashion needs to start representing a little bit, so that people can see themselves within these fashion shows and catwalk.
Exactly.
What you find, Britain is diverse, but people live within their social circles, and not many people travel across social strata.
They live in Brixton. They don't live in Brixton.
I mean, they don't travel across like racial and social strata. And so what you end up with is that people live in their isolated experiences. And so because the people that make the decisions tend to be white and middle class, mostly male, they don't really know black people and they don't understand black culture. And so, you know, when the Intent 2 is funded by Island Records. It's a record label.
Yes.
They don't fund movies. But the reason we ended up going with Island Records was because they were the only people that understood the value of our proposition. I would go into meetings all the time trying to explain to people in film, which is like the most white industry ever. Like literally every single distribution company in this country, and there's not one, I've met a paralegal and 2 black receptionists, and everyone else that I've met I've been to everyone's office, actual fact. I've been to every single, from your Lionsgate to Studio Canal to Vertigo to, I can name check all of them. And absolutely, you go into their office, there's either no person of color whatsoever, or there's a receptionist, or I met a paralegal at Studio Canal that was helping out with a deal I was doing over there. So at the end of there aren't diverse people behind the scene.
Gosh.
And so there's no way there's going to be diverse people
So
on screen.
This is
unless
serious.
they feel sorry for the cause, or
Yeah.
that there's a reason,
Yeah.
or they're put under pressure to do it. I don't even think the people in
A
power...
want or a
they
desire.
Don't even think,
or they're
they
not
don't
even
think.
yeah.
It's not even in their paradigm to
Do you know,
think.
look, oh gosh, this is deep. Femi, you arrived
I'm
on
going for
Noni.
it.
This is,
I'm
I know,
going for
I love this kind of chat, and you've got to come on and talk more about this.
Yeah, no, but it's a good point what you said there about temptation, because, you know, as I've got older and realised what it is to be a man, I understand also biblical terms. So when the Bible says, lead us not into temptation, that's what it's saying to you, that, you know, don't get comfortable as a man thinking, because she's my ex, we're done, I can be in her bedroom late at night and nothing's going to happen. You will end up inside the temptation. So just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's simple.
I've got to say we've run out of time. But
How was it?
yeah, it was all right.
I enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it. We had a good time. Everybody had a good time.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,